Welcome to the Dr. OK Show. I am Dr. OK, and today we do our first part of several end-of-year grades for 2024, where we grade every single superstar who had at least one match in 2024. And of course, on the Dr. OK Show, we care most about championships. Then second, we care about wins. And then after that, we just consider everything else, and in particular, just showing up in general. So today, for part one, we will grade every single man on the Raw roster, from most wins all the way down to the least wins, which means that most of the good grades will be at the beginning of the show, but some of our biggest superstars don't have very many wins this year, so we'll just have to see if they still get good grades. But hey, we've got 40 men to get through today, so let's just get right onto it. First, with the most wins, it is Damian Priest. He led all men with 23 wins at 23-8, and he tied the next two guys on this list for the most matches. He entered the year as a tag champion, then he cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania to become the world heavyweight champion at WrestleMania, which he held all the way until SummerSlam. And then after that, he handled the Judgment Day pretty darn easily for out most of the rest of the year. And he had a short, great mixed tag team with Rhea Ripley as the Terror Twins. But unfortunately, he could not beat Gunther, but who really can beat Gunther, in a couple of different tries. But he is still right around the top of the card, and most importantly, he won the OK for Iron Man of the Year, so we'll give Damian an A. Up second is Jey Uso. He has just one less win at 22-9, and he proved to be main event all the way, winning his first singles title, though he admittedly did not hold on to it for very long, and it was highly questionable for him to get back together with the OG bloodline. But there's no denying that everyone is yeeting all over the place. So he was our breakthrough male of the year, and he will get an A. Up third, Sami Zayn. He tied both Priest and Jey with 31 matches, but not quite as good of a record at 17-13-1. And he had maybe the most improbable win of the year, stopping Gunther's historic IC title reign at WrestleMania, and like Damian Priest, he held that title until SummerSlam. And it was even more questionable than Jey for him to rejoin the OG bloodline, and unfortunately he ends the year on a bit of a cold streak, so he'll get dropped to a B+. Next we have Gunther, and he took home nearly every trophy in the case with a historic 666-day IC title reign that he lost at WrestleMania. But shortly thereafter, he decided to go out and win the King of the Ring tournament, beating Randy Orton in the finals, which gave him a title shot at SummerSlam, which he did not disappoint in, winning that title over Damian Priest, ending the year with an overall 15-5 record. But even more impressively, he was 14-2 in one-on-one matches. He just couldn't quite beat Cody Rhodes for the Crown Jewel Championship. And we're not exactly sure what will be next for him in 2025, but for 2024, still good enough for a perfect A+. Up next, we have Braun Breaker. He tied Gunther for the most one-on-one wins at 14 and had a 15-7 overall record, and is already a two-time Intercontinental Champion in his rookie year of all things. It's hard to believe that anyone could top that, and quite frankly, they did not top that, as he was the OK Rookie of the Year, so he will also get an A+. Next on the list is Drew McIntyre, and if CM Punk didn't exist, Drew might still be the World Heavyweight Champion, instead of only holding that title for just over 5 minutes. Alas, that's all he's got, because Punk did everything he could to stop him, but he still had a 14-8 overall record and was the Money in the Bank ladder match winner, so he looked like potentially the strongest competitor on the Raw roster, but for one reason or another, he was not quite able to get things done after WrestleMania. But of course, he's still right near the top of the card, and he still won for Best Feud, even though he was the loser of that feud. That'll get him an A. Alright, up next we go to Finn Balor, and 13 wins is pretty good, but 18 losses is not good at all. And he did have 2 different tag team title reigns over the year with 2 different men, which first went back to October 2023, where he had a 172-day reign with Damian Priest, and then another 175-day reign with JD McDonough. Yet somehow throughout all of that time, he only had 4 total title defenses in 2024, which was just 1 less than what he had in the 2 months after he got those tag titles in October of 2023. And of course, we cannot ignore his 1-10 singles record, losing to Priest at every turn you can imagine, and he also lost in his 1 title shot, so we have no choice but to dock him way down to a C+. Up next is Pete Dunne. Really? Man, he's really high on this list, as he went 11-10 on the year, but admittedly he racked up a bunch of those wins early in the year in his tag team capacity with Tyler Bate, going 8-5 in all tags as a part of the New Catch Republic. And then unfortunately, once Bate got injured, he was just 2-5 in one-on-one matches, so much less successful solo, but he was still over 500, so we'll at least give him a C+. Up next we have The Miz, and the Awesome Truth won Tag Team Gold at WrestleMania, and they held on to it before losing after 79 days. And of course, he was the one that broke them up despite going 9-6 in all tags. But on the flip side, his 2-8 record in singles is not very good, so he had an 11-14 overall record. We'll just try to remember the good times here, so we'll give him a nice B-. Then his tag team partner for much of the year, R-Truth, is next, as he had 1 less tag match than The Miz, going 8-6, and a sneaky 2-2 one-on-one record keeps him above 500 at 10-9, and of course, he won the OK for Best Comedic Performance, and of course, we just want to have more R-Truth on Monday Night Raw, so he gets a B+. JD McDonough is up next, and he is somehow below 500 at 9-12 in all tag matches, despite being a tag team champ for almost 1/2 of the year. And at 10-20 overall on the year, he takes a big hit on his overall grade, and he also takes a big hit with a lot of punishment that he has to absorb, trying and usually failing to help the Judgment Day in all of their various matches, so he will get a C-. Up next, we have Ivar from the War Raiders, who are your current tag team champions, who switched from Vikings to War Raiders all in the span of 1 year, and it is working out great for them because it wasn't working out so well for him in a singles capacity, going 2-9 while Eric was injured. But despite those failings in the singles department, he was 7-1 in all tags, so he ends at 500 at 9-9, so with those tag team championships around his and Eric's waist, he'll get a B+. We go from one meaty man to another with Big Bronson Reed, and after a very slow start, including 2 IC title losses, he fought really hard to get all the way back to 500 in one-on-one matches at 8-8. But he still ended up at just 9-14 for the year, and unfortunately his incredible tsunami off the top of the cage in the War Games match will have him out for months and maybe through WrestleMania. But he certainly has intrigued us and is set up for future success, so he'll get a B-. Now from one injured man to the next, we go to Tyler Bate, who has been out of action since May 14th, but he is still somehow inside the top 15 in wins on Monday Night Raw, all of which are tag matches going 8-5 in them. So we just have to hope he's back soon and rekindles that tag team magic as part of the New Catch Republic with Pete Dunne. So maybe, just maybe, they can get some tag team gold in the future, and we'll give him a C despite a very incomplete year. Up next, we'll stay with some tag teamers with AOP's Akam and Razar, and they've not competed in any match by themselves, so we'll keep them together for our purposes here. And so they were both 8-8 in all tags, but they did lose their only title shot, and Karrion Kross does not seem to be deploying them appropriately to put them in any sort of position to be a contender for the tag gold, so they will get a D+. Okay, let's go to Sheamus. He was out of action until April due to injury, but he had a very strong showing in one-on-one matches, going 8-5. However, he did lose all 4 of his multi-person singles matches to finish the year below 500 at 8-9. Now, he also lost both of his IC title matches, and that unfortunately means he is still not a Grand Slam champion, but maybe 2025 will be the year to do that. However, still looks like he's got it in 2024, so he'll get a B-. Another elder statesman in the locker room is Rey Mysterio, and you can see that he too still has it, but he never really got things going in 2024. He did not even receive a single title shot and was just all around fine at 8-9. But maybe his role as locker room leader is holding him down, and so maybe he'll have to take that out on the New Day very soon. But for now, he gets just a C+ in 2024. Okay, Chad Gable is next, and what an awful human being he was this year. And the only thing that he seemed to do right was train Sami Zayn so that he could go on to win the IC title. However, this didn't help him, as he lost all 3 of his IC title shots and ended with an 8-14 overall record. But he did get the last laugh on his former Alpha Academy students by beating Tozawa and Otis to start checking things off of his list. So, due to his incredible ability to annoy everyone but keep showing up for more, we'll give him a B-. And another person who's annoying people right now is Xavier Woods. He took a lot of losses this year to realize that he and Kofi Kingston just had to drop Big E like a bad habit in order to move forward, which should be great for 2025. But we just can't ignore an 8-17, 1-1 record in 2024. That does not cut it for now, so he has to get a D+. And up next, we have Dirty Dominic Mysterio. I guess if availability is the best availability of them all, he was certainly available in the ring and with the ladies, but not so much with the wins, as he went 8-22 in 24, and that was the most losses of anyone on the entire WWE roster. But I will certainly give him bonus points, and a lot of bonus points, for getting the girls this year, and for, of course, being the OK Love to Hate Superstar of the Year. So even with the most losses, we'll bump him up a couple notches to a C+. And let's go back to the New Day with Kofi Kingston, and just like his partner Xavier Woods, he took a lot of losses, but somehow even worse, going 7-19, 2-1, and how a former WWE champion goes 8-1 in singles matches, I guess I'll never know, but for the year, he's getting a D-. And we'll go back to the War Raiders with Eric. He did not appear until October 14th, but he started raiding immediately upon his return, ending at an incredible 6-1 and as your world tag team champions, so he can't get anything but an A. So up next, we will go to Dragon Lee, and just like Rey Mysterio and the rest of his LWO mates, he looks great, but has seemingly no direction, but also a mediocre record at 6-9, so the best we can do is a C-. Up next is Ilya Dragunov. He debuted in April with the draft and then was injured in September, and the Mad Dragon always left it on the line, nearly winning the Intercontinental title, and he was always putting on a show, going 100% at all times, and we certainly look forward to his return. And we will have to say he had a pretty good rookie showing at 5-6, so even though the record may not quite deserve it, he gets a B-. Up next, we have another tag team like the AOP who only had matches with each other, so that is Brutus and Julius Creed of American Made. They ended at 5-9, and if Chad Gable focused more on them instead of himself, maybe they could get in line to earn a title shot. But for now, we'll just be left with Brutus cackling on the outside of the ring, so they'll get a D+. And we'll go back to the Judgment Day next with Carlito. He somehow found his way into the Judgment Day and then got very comfortable and stopped really trying, and also stopped winning, ending the year at 5-11. And he was also not particularly good at helping the Judgment Day win their matches either, so he's gonna get a D-. Up next, we have Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium. He had a summer injury that he suffered at the hands of Sheamus that slowed down any momentum and winning that he might have been doing before the injury. And when he returned, he lost 10 of his last 11 matches, including an unbelievable 3 Intercontinental title chances that he certainly didn't deserve, since again he only won 1 match. And so he ends with a horrific 5-17-2 record, which is just over 20%. Whew! That is the worst of any superstar with at least 20 matches on the year. That gets him a pretty awful D-. And up next, we go to Seth freaking Rollins. And wow, is something off here? No? Seth Rollins all the way down here? Well, he started the year like any other year with 2 very quick title defenses, but of course he got injured in that second one, and so a myriad of injuries hampered him all throughout the year, and he unbelievably had 0 wins from January 15th all the way until November 2nd. So he ends 2024 at just 4-5-1. That is freaking unbelievable. So he gets a C. Alright, up next is Karrion Kross of the Final Testament, and until the Wyatt Six came along, he seemed to be more interested in breaking up other people instead of focusing on himself or his own group. But he did somehow end up with a relatively fine record at 4-6, but we just wish he'd step inside the ring a bit more. So because he took his eyes off the prize, he's getting a D+. And speaking of the Wyatt Six, let's go to the first member, which is Dexter Lumis. With his 1 win versus The Miz, that gives him the most matches and wins of any Wyatt Six member, but I still can't really distinguish them very much for this, so even at his 3-1 record, we'll give him a B-. And now switching back to the top of the card with CM Punk. An injury, of course, meant no matches from the Royal Rumble all the way until SummerSlam, but he certainly made his presence felt on Monday Night Raw all throughout the year, regardless of whether he could be in a match or not. And it was mostly at the expense of costing Drew McIntyre titles. And then, of course, he went on to beat him in their Series 2 matches to 1. And he also picked up that War Games win, so he ended up 3-2 on the year. And most importantly, he won 2 OKs for Best Feud with Drew McIntyre, and was, of course, the best before and after the bell superstar. So that is certainly going to pump up his grade all the way to an A-. And now let's flip right back to the Wyatt Six, as we have Eric Rowan and Joe Gacy, and they only appeared together in a couple of Wyatt Six matches, going 2-1, and this of course is more about the whole group than these 2 gentlemen themselves. which was pretty much how it went for the entire group. And I think they were a pretty cool group overall, and we certainly hope for more in 2025. So they, like Gacy, will get B minuses. That takes us to Akira Tozawa, and he's the first Alpha Academy member on here? Tozawa? Are you serious? Oh boy, that's pretty sad. Well, we'll talk about the other guy here soon, and we will say Tozawa at least got one miraculous win against Ivar early in the year, and then he did dominate with a tag win against the New Day, so he finishes the year at 2-11, and he also is really bad at helping his partner Otis, so Tozawa is getting an F. Up next is Bo Dallas, and he is the leader of the White Six, but he has less matches than the other members of his group, and he does have just one win, which was his one-on-one matchup against Chad Gable, so he is just 1-1 on the year. But of course, we are still glad that they are here, and he is most to take credit for that, so he'll get the same grade as the others at a B-. That does take us to Otis, our number one guy, except he just has number 1 in the win column at a mere 1-13. Ugh, yikes. Maybe Maxine is making him model too much and isn't focusing enough on the matches. I don't know. I'm just overall pretty sad about it. He's gonna get a D. And lastly, and together, is Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro of the LWO. They also only appear together, so they at least can commiserate with each other for both being 0-7. And somehow they are not even around that often to even help out the other members of the LWO, so we have no choice but to give them an F. And I will grade myself with an A+ for getting through that entire Raw roster in that amount of time, and of course being on the money with every single grade. Just like I am on the money for giving 3 reasons why you should not acknowledge Roman Reigns, which we did right on over here in this week's OK Question of the Week. So if you missed that, go over there and check it out, because if you don't, you will get both an F and a not okay.